We move on this evening, we have the EMS contract. Ms. Humphries is going to present that.
We have just a couple of concerns. I think the whole council is very happy with the interlocal agreement. Two things we're concerned about, and hopefully we can just work those out, get those worked out, and then just go ahead and pass it. One is under section 1, the reimbursement. We're fine with this reimbursement, there's no problem with that, but just if we could add something that says we reevaluate it every year, and I know we talked about doing that. So if we could just add something in the contract that says that.
Yes, reevaluate every year is fine with us, we have no problem with that. We discussed also having, quarterly meetings, so we can keep track of things as we went forward, and we where we actually get blindsided by department. But if it's ever not, it won't play. I'd like to also say that.
Okay. So that should be no problem, if we can just get that, and if the other parties are agreeable to it. And then the other one was under section 2. It just has a little confusing verbiage here that says after that first year that it can only be tabled, it can only be terminated by mutual agreement of each of the cities or by Dry Ridge. So all of us cities would have to agree to terminate before one of us could get out. And I don't have any problem with that, I don't see us getting out, but we don't want to bind future councils to an agreement that.
Well, when we look at that, by going back to the table every year to look
Yes.
things over, that kind of gets everybody on the same piece of paper again, that way. If there's new council members, new mayors, hey, when I took office in January, I ain't been in the last 2 or 3 years, let's reevaluate this and that kind of stuff. That's kind of why that's in there.
Yeah.
Kind of keeps everybody whole, we'll say, and also gives everybody the option.
Since it's being reevaluated every year anyway, we probably need a good test drive before we reevaluate it, so a year test drive.
Oh, well, that's in there. Yeah, there's no changes in the first year, but that,
And I'll just be straightforward with you. The first year is going to be a lousy test drive. And I've said, we really won't get our hard numbers for 2 years into it, start really, because you can evaluate January through December for 1 year. Problem is, are them the real numbers, or are the numbers different because of the quarters, and, we'll have to just take a couple years to get the real numbers.
so that was the only thing that we were just a little concerned about, but we're all for it.
What do you like here? Question?
If I may, is it okay?
Yeah.
So really on trying to nail down on section 1, under the reimbursement runs, what language do you propose inserting? Just to be clear, so I think that the council is going to give, by way of resolution tonight, authority to the mayor to enact or execute this document. But I want to make sure that they understand what language they're agreeing to. So is the language that the reimbursement run annually shall be reconsidered by all parties with you presenting a proposed?
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
just tell me exactly what the language is.
Yeah, I mean, that would be what we want to do. Every year, the numbers are fluid numbers kind of deal. That's what we talked about months ago when we brought this up. I don't believe he was here at that time. But that's why we brought that up is, them are the hard numbers from previous year, okay? The numbers this year may be a little bit left, a little bit right. We'll reevaluate that, so we know exactly what we're looking at.
So is there a way that we could say by April 30th of that calendar year, which would be next year, you present what you anticipate the expected run number is to council so they can evaluate?
Like I say, the first year's gonna be really hard to come up with, so we're not gonna have a full year set. It's gonna take 2 years to get the full amount, so we know where we're at.
And I don't
But
want to.
yeah, but I agree with you 100%.
So my point is, you always can come back to council
Right.
and lobby
Exactly.
for whatever policy you would
Right.
like to see. The issue is, this council is going to be bound by this agreement. Once it's
Right.
executed, if it's not in there, it doesn't exist. So the
Exactly.
question is is there a possibility that language can say specifically, within 30 days of whatever date, you give us a projected number of
Yeah,
what
oh,
that?
yeah, that's a problem. Projected numbers are fine, yes.
Okay, and then, because they can, they can get out of the contract if they choose to, but at least you've given them some forewarning of what it looks like. It could be
Exactly.
$1,000 a run, or it could be 200, we don't know.
Right.
Is that okay with you?
Oh, that's fine, yes, sir.
So I could work with Mr. Gatlin to put that language in there? Okay.
Good with that?
And then on section 2.0, the time period of agreement, it indicates that, and I do see that it requires a mutual agreement between Dry Ridge and the various cities. It's unclear, and we need to work on this language as well, but it's unclear if it requires the entire, all participating jurisdictions, or requires just one and Dry Ridge. So I think that we need to clean that language up. I think I hear from you saying that it's fine if Dry Ridge and a city agreed to terminate it, right?
Right.
That's easy. But what's not easy is the next sentence indicates that Dry Ridge by itself, on their own, can decide to terminate it, and there's nothing that Crittenden can do about it.
Right.
That's your understanding of it as well, correct?
Yes, and the reason, I'll tell you the reason that clause is in there is because with K-beams and EMS and the rules and regulations that we have to abide by, down the road, there may be a reason why that the city of Dry Ridge just decides we just don't want to do EMS anymore, okay? Mayors change their, you know what I mean, and councils change their, the next group of people may say, well, we don't want to do this. So if they decide they don't want to do that, then that gives them the option to also step out. I don't think they ever will, because for years we've been doing it the way it's been being done, which has benefited everybody.
Well, my question is isn't what's good for one should be good for the other, in the sense where if the city decides on their own that they want to pull out, they just don't want to do business anymore, they got a better proposal, shouldn't they have the same right as Dry Ridge? Does it require Dry Ridge's consent? I think that's the question.
And I'm gonna say no. The reason I'm gonna say no is Dry Ridge is burdened the cost, okay? We're having the overhead and all that kind of stuff. That's a little bit different. Your all's part is the $316 and some odd cents a run, okay? That's your all's part. If you come to us in April and say, hey, we're negotiating this, and it's going from $316 run to $317 a run, an extra 30, 40 cents, and we decided that that's a little bit higher than what we want to spend, so we want to get out. We'll of course look at that as we get there. But this is the option that we have in there just for us, for lack of it, okay? Like I say, we have the full overhead on this, and once we bought a rig last year, it was $250,000. We're paying on it, City Drive's paying on it. If we get 2 or 3 years into this, we buy more trucks, and we have expenses yearly, expecting the
Well, I understand that, but the interlocal agreement before we looked at was a 3-year agreement. So we knew that at some point in time, it had a sunset provision. This has no sunset provision. Essentially means in perpetuity, for as long as you all choose to exercise it, Dry Ridge on their own can unilaterally force this jurisdiction to accept your ambulance service. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, I don't read it that way.
There's just no sunset provision. There's no date in which this agreement ends.
Yearly. When we go back yearly to renegotiate, that's the way I read it. I mean, maybe, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not.
Well, but I think the point is, the council, I think, needs to be aware of this, is that there's nothing in here that says that they have to agree when they renegotiate. Part of renegotiation is that if you can't come to terms, you can get the heck out. In this case, this doesn't give you the authority to get out. So if there's a provision that says if we don't like each other in 2 years, or 1 year, 3 years, we can go. But there's nothing in here that says in year 2050, you're not still doing business together despite the fact you don't like each other. So that's my point.
If I could interject, I actually wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Edmondson. This was an issue that was raised in conversation about this earlier. And honestly, it's not near that bad, Chief, but you know what that makes me think of as I'm looking at this. Now, this doesn't have a set term of years, but having had some recent experience with another city and a horrible water contract services deal that ended up in litigation to try to get out of it, and it sounds like maybe that's improving. This made me a little bit mindful of that. It doesn't say 40 years,
Right.
or whatever that number was, but I do have to agree with Mr. Edmondson that there's no out clause here. And maybe one thought is we make the term longer. This is just editorializing a little bit to give Dry Ridge more protection. And obviously, I'm intimately aware of the burden Dry Ridge is carrying. But I do agree with Mr. Edmondson that there's no out for Crittenden in this.
Well, I'll be truthful, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I assumed on my end that yearly when we would sit down, like say in April or May, saying, hey, this is what we've done last year, this is the numbers we're looking at, blah, 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 this is what we're doing, blah, 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 this is the number we're looking at down the road. That would be the time that, you all would say, yeah, we're out, we don't want to do this. And that would be, okay, all right. That's why I read, when me and Jack talked, I thought that's the way we kind of had it.
Well,
Or maybe there needs to be wording put in there that says that, and again,
it's always a good start.
right,
But good faith is presumed. Execution is never
Right.
presumed. In this case, I can understand you that other lawyers may come and interpret this differently and see it as unfortunately, the city is shackled
yeah,
to whatever
we
agreement.
don't want to shackle anybody, I mean, nor do we want to, I guess, get shackled. So if we need, as far as I'm concerned, the mayor said here beside me, if we need to change a little bit of verbiage to make sure that nobody's, long-term to a 40-year contract or whatever, I want out, you can't get out, I'm gonna get to it, or here's the gun, blah, blah, blah. Whatever we need to do, I mean, like I said, we want to work with you all, we want to work with the community, we're here for you all, I mean, point blank.
So the issue would be a council to have a conversation amongst themselves on what authorization you want to give the mayor to execute, a counter proposal. I mean, they're reasonable people, I think everybody here is reasonable, it's just that you're trying to bind future generations. Just be careful.
And Chief, I don't doubt your good faith
Oh, I appreciate it.
whatsoever, or the mayor's.
Right.
But the
I
point
understand.
is, you guys won't always be in these seats, your council won't be always in these seats, this council won't always be in these seats. And again, having been through that nightmare of the water issue with Williamstown, with Dry Ridge, it made an impression.
I understand.
Is there a simple language change that we could
Yeah,
put
that's
in
just
there that
something-
would address these issues that they
I
could
think so.
take back so that we could vote on it tonight?
The council needs to decide, do you want to have the option of getting out in year 1, year 2, or year whatever? And the answer is that you all, that's a policy decision.
I think it should be at the end of each year.
Yes.
We shouldn't get out in the middle of any
Yeah.
year.
out, if they want to get out in a year.
Right, that's, like I said, that's what I thought, when, the first one we put out was a 3-year deal, okay? Talking to Chuck, talking to different ones, hey, normally it's a 1-year, term. We talked about, sure, that's fine, if everybody wants out next May, that says, hey, starting July 1st, we're gonna contract with, somebody else, Joe's ambulance service, and by all means, but, I just thought that was that was the way I understood that language.
We did
Just
too.
Every
We did
year we
too.
would go in there and, we'll sit down together, and we don't like this, we don't like that, we don't like you, we like each other, whatever, and we go from there. That's the way I understood it. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, so if verbiage needs to be put in there to make sure that everybody's protected, then by all means, whatever verbiage that is, and the mayor also agrees that, yeah, it's cool, we're good with that.
Is what you're saying is that in next year, you decide you want out, you can get out, is that what and we're not gonna let you out?
Well, this agreement doesn't allow, Mayor, this agreement contemplates exactly that scenario where Dry Ridge, Williamstown, Grant County, or Crittenden, would come to you and say, we want out. It says mutual. It means that Dry Ridge has to agree with you to let you out. You don't have freedom unless Dry Ridge consents. That's not,
Write it that way.
Change,
Right.
usual, whatever you gotta do.
Right.
well, it would just, so instead of even having that agreement, you just have in here, the provision says, or the unilateral termination of it by Dry Ridge. It just needs to be, or the unilateral termination by any participating party or jurisdiction. That would solve the problem.
That's fine.
Should there be a 30-day notice in there too?
I think a notice period would probably be appropriate,
Yes.
considering the nature of the service and the commitment that Dry Ridge is making and the council's making. I think, and I'm just throwing it out there, probably maybe even more than 30 days would probably be a good 60, 90.
Yeah,
Right.
in fairness to Dry Ridge, I think.
I think, with what we discussed here a few meetings ago, having quarterly meetings, that kind of stuff, we on our end, and you on your end is gonna know, hey, this isn't working, or this is working a whole lot better than I thought it would work. I think that's what we're gonna find
Maybe if
out.
you had like, if you had a 90-day notice provision with an automatic renewal if they haven't opted out. So within 90 days, you send notice to them saying, hey, we think there's a better option for us, we're gonna explore it. Then they have 90 days to figure out how to corral everything. But automatically, if you don't give them that, then it renews for a period of 1 year. So therefore, you're not locked in for a decade or more, or
Right,
whatever,
yeah.
but annually. It gives you guys some assurance.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect good sense, yes, sir.
I do have a question too, since we're voting on this as council and mayor. When the time period comes up, shouldn't we vote on it again as council and mayor, or is this just a decision that
I guess
the
however
executive
interlocal,
board makes?
however interlocal agreements work, obviously I'm not an expert on interlocal agreements out there.
So the way it would work is the resolution today is authorizing the mayor to enter into this interlocal agreement. Remember that within 90 days, so you have to have this topic of conversation, probably in, let's say, February or March, or if not earlier, that, okay, we're happy, we're not. So if the council then decides by resolution again to say to the mayor, we authorize you to terminate the relationship, that's how this process will work. So each year, this has to come back on your radar screen. If you all are satisfied, there's never any reason for it to go back up for vote.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
If I may point out, it would be very similar to what you do with the Crittenden Fire Department. We have got it to where the agreement perpetuates on if there are no issues. However, if either party, the city or the fire department, feels that there are items to be discussed, we have to submit in writing no less than 30 days before April the 15th, I think it is, that we need to discuss this and review the contract. I think that this would be along the same line, would it not? To where that would give plenty of time after the numbers are presented by Dry Ridge for the council to look at it and say, hey, you know, we like this, it makes sense, let's continue on. So going on the same format as the fire department, I think would be wise.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you made a mention of contacting Mr. Gatlin. Could we just make a motion and vote on you doing that with the discussion that we just had and get the terminology going, and then we can authorize that to be signed?
You can, if your resolution is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement contingent upon the policy decision supports, you'll need to make that as 30 days, 90 days, much like with the fire protection service contract says, whatever. But
Okay.
you don't want to give her the authority just to do, she'll just do it, not that you wouldn't make a good decision, but you might not be happy with the result. So what I would say is go ahead and give her some, at least some direction on what,
Okay.
because therefore you can't go to her and say, well, why'd you give them 90? You should have given them 30, whatever.
But you were gonna get with him about the wording.
Well, I think I've heard direction from the mayor, and of course, this gentleman here that have said, we're fine with it. Gatlin and I'll work out the details
Gotcha.
on our own.
And it's on recorder, I mean, we're not trying,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but it's like Lee
like I
said, it's
say,
the same
you
situation.
know,
We
I'll
can,
talk to Jack about it.
how about a motion to pass this in regards to EMS service with Dry Ridge, with the intent to change the verbal wording on the contract with Jack Gatlin and our attorney, Alex Evanson. I need a motion to pass the EMS contract.
Did we need to set a date? He said 30, 60, 90 days. Did
What do
we
you
need to
got?
put that in the motion?
Yeah,
I
we
think
need,
90 days would be.
I think 90.
How much do you have on yours? Is it 65, 67?
Well, this is going to be a little bit different because, if I may, from what I understand, Dry Ridge is going to be offering numbers to you in quarterly increments so that you're having a trending set up before that. Ours is set up on a 30-day prior notice. Well, it sounds like the 30 to 90, you know, we're kind of muddying things. On the interlocal agreements, if you make it the same across the board, it makes it easier for you guys as well as everyone else. They're already presenting numbers throughout the year. So by the time you get your third set of numbers, you're going to know whether you're liking what you're seeing or you're not. And a 30-day notification still gives you another 90 days to work on it.
You're gonna give us numbers quarterly, right?
Yeah.
On the runs for the bill, right?
That's what we agreed on.
And I warn you, you saw with our numbers for the fire department, everything varies so much in the world of fire and EMS. You know, that quarterly reporting is going to be really crucial.
I would still like to stick with the 90 days, if that's okay with everybody else. So what's that, how does that motion read?
We're good with 90 days.
How does that motion read? Did you write that down?
No, I was waiting for y'all to repeat it.
We just want to be clear on it,
Yeah,
so let's just be clear on it.
Whoever needs to make the motion, who's gonna make the motion?
I'll make it if we just say how it's due. You make it.
So we need to, I make a motion, we authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Dry Ridge with a language change for a 90-day increment.
That allows the 90-day renewal period, that allows the unilateral termination
All
of the
parties.
by all parties.
Yes.
And then we can work on the verbiage, but she's got the authority based upon your motion, ultimately resolution, to approve.
And that we don't cancel them in the middle of the year.
Right, which you can.
I'll second.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Danny,
Yes.
Arlene,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
and Paula is out.
I just one editorial comment for the audience and for the rest of the council. I want to thank Dry Ridge. They made us a deal here. We're just paying the variable cost. We're not paying the fixed costs like the cost of the buildings, the depreciation, the overhead. We're paying the variable costs like labor and gas and bandages. I'll take that deal any day. You're giving all communities a hell of a deal. And I thank Dry Ridge for it.
We appreciate that. We're not trying to make any money off of that. We're just trying to cut some losses, is what we're trying to do. We appreciate you all's support.
Thank you.
I would like to say something too, if I may. I know that this council budget is probably not exactly what you all want, but I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak and us an opportunity to give our opinion and do our job. I appreciate that.
We have one more thing to cover. Did all council get the recommendations for the qualifications of the citation officer?
It was
That was not in the
Lane.
package that I
I think
picked up.
it was Lane with, I just laid it down with it.
I can read it on. There it is.
There it is. It's Lane with your paperwork and the table.
So we've been, I'll give you a little bit of status. We've been working hard on ramping up code enforcement, which is an endless job, but the reality is until we can't start issuing citations and having the board meet and actually take official action until we've done some housekeeping measures. One of the housekeeping measures should have been installing some code enforcement, really the code enforcement